To demonstrate the process of installing software using apt, let's install the Putty client for Linux. If you remember, Putty is an SSH client that can be used on Windows computers to connect to Linux machines. Although in Linux and Raspberry Pi, of course, the terminal is very robust and can perform any SSH function, I'm just installing the Putty client software to illustrate how the apt package tool can be used for software installations in general. Before we do this, let us update our existing packages. We can run sudo apt get update. And this may take a while if this is the first time you're running this command, or maybe you haven't run it in a while, but this will update our package lists and get all the available package updates for us. I recently ran this command and my system is up to date, so it didn't take very long at all, but depending on the state of your system, it may take a while to get all those updates pulled down and update your repositories. So before we begin the Putty install, just to show that Putty doesn't exist on our system, if I click the Raspberry Pi icon and I go down to Internet, this is a list of the Internet tools that are available on my system. As you can see, Putty isn't here. We have the browser and so on, and the VNC viewer. So now I'm going to run the command to install Putty. So it is sudo apt get install, and this is typically the syntax we will use when we want to install any type of packages using apt, and what would follow is the name of the package we want to install. So I'm just going to type in Putty here, and this is going to go out and retrieve all those dependencies for us and begin the install. The install has been completed. It ran fairly quickly, and now let's go check to see if Putty was installed. So if you click on the Raspberry Pi icon and you go down to Internet, what we should see here is the Putty SSH client. So it now shows up. We have installed it using apt. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and when it opens up, this is the Putty client. So from the previous videos, I had some instructions on how you could connect via SSH to any IP address or any Linux-based machine on your network, and you can use Putty on Linux here on Raspberry Pi, and it works. Okay, so now that we have installed Putty, we have installed the software using apt, how do we delete software? So in order to do that, I can type in sudo apt get remove, and I'm going to, of course, here is where you would put in the name of the package that you want to remove. So I'm just going to put in Putty here, and this is going to run. It asks for a confirmation of do you want to continue to actually remove the Putty application. So I'm going to just type in Y, hit enter, and this is going to run and uninstall essentially the Putty application. So that has been completed, and let's check it out. Let's see if it has been removed from our menu. So again, I'm going to click on the Raspberry Pi icon, go to Internet, and as you can see, it doesn't show up anymore. So it was actually removed, so we can't access it. It's gone. Typically, there's another command that we can run which would actually clean up and remove some of the dependencies and so on that may have lingered in our system. So that command is the Purge command. So I'm going to go ahead and run that now. So you type in sudo apt get, and then I'm going to put in purge Putty. Okay, and this is going to go out. Again, it asks for a confirmation. As you can see, it shows a list of packages that were installed and that are no longer required. Again, over time, if you keep installing and uninstalling stuff, eventually you're going to have a lot of packages that you may not be using, and of course this takes up space on our system. So I'm just going to type in Y here, hit enter, and once that's done, it should be all cleared up. The other command that I want to talk about is related to fixing broken dependencies, and we can type in sudo apt auto remove. And this actually goes out, and those same dependencies that are no longer required, that are lingering around on the system. But as you can see, there's some dependencies from other software that I've installed that I haven't gotten rid of. So you just get the confirmation after you did the sudo apt auto remove, and I type in Y here, and it's going to go out and clean up my system and actually free up some disk space there. So there we see a progress bar as it's running through. It's running through fairly quickly. Of course, the time that it takes will depend on how much of those unused packages that are being cleaned up. So it's almost completed here, and I'm done. Okay, so finally, there's another command that you can also run that cleans up unused space, and sudo apt get clean. Again, that will clean up any unused space and keep our system in a good state. And it's something that we want to probably run periodically just to make sure that anything that's not being used has been taken off our system and we have the max available space. So this concludes our lesson on installing software. We will be using some of these commands quite a lot in this course to install software later on. So hopefully you can see the power of the APT system and how it makes installing, uninstalling, and managing dependencies for software on the Raspberry Pi a breeze.